Today I'm unveiling the ultimate blueprint on how to turn humble beginnings into high passive income and financial freedom. My name's Michael Elefante, and this is the untold story of how I went from slinging coffees at Dunkin' Donuts to over $50,000 per month in passive income. All right, picture this. You had a very normal childhood, loving parents, stable household. You went to school, you went to college, you followed society's plan to a T, then you graduate college, and then you're completely let down with trying to find a good paying job while also trying to find passion and purpose in life. Sound familiar? This is exactly the path I went through. Completely normal childhood, did all the normal things, and then when I went to apply for jobs, I was completely stuck. I played college baseball growing up, played all the way through college, was hoping to play professionally, but once that dream came to a screaming halt, I had no idea what to do, and I was left feeling stuck. And this is the exact story of how I went from this very moment in time to making over $50,000 a month in passive income in just a few short years. All right, so let's rewind back a little bit. It's May of 2015. I just graduated Elon University, one of the best business schools in the Southeast. I had a finance degree. I was pretty pumped up, and I was hoping to get drafted this year. I was a redshirt junior, but I was a senior in the classroom, if that makes sense. So I had 1 year of NCAA eligibility if I wanted to use it to go back and play baseball another year. Did not get drafted, so my hopes and dreams were kind of crushed. And I took an internship that was more or less a sales role that was 100% commission only down in Jupiter, Florida. I was pre-selling this product called Hulux Medical. I won't go into the details of the product, but it was pretty awful. And I was going door to door to medical practices. And just to cut the story short, I made exactly 0 sales that summer. So I had no money. I only had a few $100 in my bank account. So I had to start applying for other jobs and ultimately make the decision if I wanted to go back to Elon and use my last year of baseball eligibility or enter the workforce full time. But clearly it was not working out for me so much. I applied for all these part-time jobs and other full-time jobs even. And I don't know what it was, but literally the only two companies that interviewed me were Chipotle and Dunkin' Donuts. I was desperate at that point just to have some money coming in the door to pay for food. Chipotle didn't hire me. Dunkin' Donuts did. I was making like $7.35 an hour, and I was waking up at 5 in the morning and I was pouring coffees and handing out donuts for multiple hours in the morning. And then I would go work that internship or sales job during the middle of the day to the afternoon, and then I would go work out in the evening and then wake up and repeat. Long story short, I was miserable. I hated this. I was making no money. I was like, you know what? Screw this. Being an adult sucks. I'm just gonna go back for 1 more year of baseball and then we'll figure it out next year. So I did that, played 1 more year of baseball, it was fine, tacked on a marketing degree, didn't really do anything for me. I applied for a ton of jobs, almost felt like I was in the same situation again, and finally, I got hired, or at least offered a job in Dallas, Texas as an entry-level business development rep. My responsibilities with this job was to sit in a gray cubicle and make 70 to 100 cold calls per day. I freaking hated it. And I was like, you know what? It's okay. I'm gonna do what everyone else tells me to do and follow society's plan. That's what I've done my whole life, right? Go to school, college, get a job, work hard, and work harder, work more hours, eventually get a promotion, right? And make more money, and then everything will be gravy by that point. So I said, you know what? That's my plan. I'm just gonna grind it out. So I worked really hard. I did get a promotion to an inside sales rep position about 7 months later, and I went from making $35K a year to $48K a year plus potential commission. So I was like, oh my gosh, I feel rich. But after the tax man comes, and then after you contribute to a 401K, which again, everyone in society tells you to do, I only had like a few $100, maybe $1,000 a month left over in savings. And I was really only able to save that much because I was working on the weekends at a vineyard, at a winery, literally pouring wine and cutting cheese for people. So it was a bit of an upgrade from slinging coffee and donuts, I suppose. Regardless, the point is, regardless how hard I worked, even though I was in a sales role, my earnings was relatively capped. So I could put in 60, 80, 100-hour weeks, but the income was not exponentially growing with it. And one day I just remember driving home in the Dallas heat on the highway in my 2002 Honda Accord, and I was just sitting there and I felt nothing. I was numb. And I just thought to myself, I have to figure out a solution. I researched all the different ways that you could invest or make passive income. I started investing my money into stocks. I was reading books about wholesaling real estate, investing into multifamily or syndicates for apartment complexes, literally everything. And while my money was really not working hard for me in the stock market or a 401k, I started to think, okay, I need cash flow because ultimately I don't want to invest and wait till I'm 60 or 70 years old in order to be able to retire, right? Leave my job. I wanted to live life today. I started to look up ways to make the highest amount of cash flow or passive income. And my road started to narrow down, and ultimately it led me to short-term rentals. Now, you guys are probably familiar with Airbnb, and that's just one of the platforms that people like to list properties on for rent. So short-term rentals have the highest cash flow potential. I stayed at a place in Nashville with my wife once, and I was just doing the numbers. I was like, we're paying this much per night. And if these people are renting for about this many days per month, I checked their calendar, they were slam booked. And I was like, they gotta be bringing in like $8,000 or $10,000. And I was like, their mortgage on this place or their rent they're paying can't be more than $1,000, $2,500 a month. And after cleaning fees and other expenses, they gotta be like clearing several $1,000s. I'm like, this is crazy. Why is not everyone doing this? And I was like, what's the catch? So I spent the next year doing all this research and saving up money. And it ultimately led me to, I had to make the decision, am I actually gonna grow the balls to make this first investment? Or am I gonna sit on the sidelines like I've been doing the past several years and then just continue to work for the rest of my life? Ultimately, I had to measure the risk. And I want you to do this too. Think about this literally today. Think about the risk of investing, because that's what holds most people back. What if I lose my money? What if I invest in a property and nobody rents it? Okay, that's one scenario. What if you don't? What if you work that job, invest in a 401k, have nice company benefits, and follow everyone else's plan and work till you're 60 or 70 years old? It's kind of a morbid picture, but life expectancy in the US is like 77 years. It's actually gone down over the past several years because people have become so unhealthy. Now, if you retire at 65 years old, like most people, and you live to 77, you have 12 years of the golden years to really live your life, travel, do whatever you want. And for me, it was way more risky to follow that plan than it was to invest some money. Even if I were to lose it all, I'm still in the same place. I could still work and save my money for retirement. I can always go back, but I'll never be able to get back those next 40 years worth of my life. All of a sudden, it became way more risky to not invest and not bet on myself. So if you guys are in that position and you feel a little bit stuck and you're uncomfortable with investing, you have to flip the script on its head. I promise you it'll change your perspective. Fast forward to 2019, about 3.5 years after I started that job in Dallas, Texas, I was ready to make my first investment into a short-term rental property. Now keep in mind, during these few years, I had changed jobs 2 more times. I moved from Dallas to Austin, worked another sales job, then moved from Austin to Nashville, Tennessee to work another sales job. I had worked my way up to a field sales rep, so basically had the opportunity to make higher commissions. And that's important to note here, guys, because I didn't want to be a career person, and a lot of you watching this video probably don't want to either. So what I recommend you do is focus on your income first, because the more you can make, the more you can invest at a quicker pace. You can always leverage other people's money and all that good stuff, but you will not be able to save your way to prosperity. You have to focus on making more so you can invest more and then let the compound effect happen after that. So we got our first property in November 2019, launched it on Airbnb in December. Now, this was a little bit of a rocky road because I didn't know anything about short-term rentals at the time. I was literally flying by the seat of my pants. I didn't realize how much it costs to furnish a property and furnish it properly. So I had just enough money for the down payment and the closing costs and a little bit for furniture, but I ran out of money. I had to sell my truck. It was a dream truck I bought in Texas that I just finished paying off. I sold it, traded it in for some poopy 5 or 6-year-old bottom baseline CRV that I absolutely hated driving. But I got a check from the dealership and I went and finished furnishing the property. We launched it only to get one of our worst ever guests check in. They booked for a month. Long story short, it was somebody booking on behalf of some J1 visa students. They didn't speak much English, so there was a little bit of a language barrier. They checked in, but the guy booking didn't actually stay at the property. It was a bunch of teenagers. So not recommended, right, for any guest of any time, but definitely not your first guest. So these kids took everything in the property that was small things replaceable, but all of the items that we stock, like coffee, soaps, towels, all this stuff. It was $500 worth of stuff. They ransacked the place. And that was one of our biggest gut punches when we first started. We're like, wow, is this what it's gonna be like? Are all the horror stories you hear about Airbnb true? is every guest gonna be like this? Thankfully, not every guest is like that, but that was just a terrible way to start. And by the third month, guys, this is March of 2020, we had bachelorette groups, we had people on birthday celebrations, people coming in for concerts. Our calendar was stacked, and we were about to cash flow, right? This is after paying the mortgage and all expenses, over $7,000 in 1 month. I was like, I'm a freaking genius. I am the world's best investor. And I was like, I can't wait to quit my job. I'm gonna do it. We just need like one more property like this. And then guess what happens? COVID hit. First case of COVID hit the US. I can't remember if it was March or April. And when that happened, we had $40,000 worth of cancellations for future bookings in a matter of 2 weeks. And that just felt like the carpet was pulled out from under me. It was terrible. And what makes it worse is my wife and I just liquidated, sold out of my 401k and her IRA that we've been investing in for years to get our second property. So we were under contract for our second short-term rental property, and we sold out of all of our investments and retirement accounts when COVID hit. At this moment, my wife and I looked at each other and we're like, oh shit, we just effed up. But I was very optimistic, probably more so than most people in the world at that point in time. I was like, you know what? This whole don't travel, stay at home thing is probably gonna last for a couple weeks. I was like, you know what? Let's proceed. Let's close on this second property. Let's furnish it and let's go all in. We actually didn't have to furnish it much because we bought it turnkey. We changed a few of the furniture items, and we launched that one in May of 2020. Travel was very hit or miss in Nashville for the next 10 to 12 months. So we didn't make much cash flow for like that entire summer and fall, which is the busy season. But we were still gung-ho, and we saw a lot of the travel shift to rural areas like Gatlinburg, Tennessee, Joshua Tree out in California. So we bought our third property. We saved up a little bit of our cash flow. We didn't have much. And then we both were working sales jobs, so we saved up all our commission, and we put 10% down on the second home that we were gonna rent out when we weren't using it in the Smokies. This was our epiphany moment that we saw the light at the end of the tunnel to quit our jobs within the next like 6 months after this. So we bought this house in October, did like a cosmetic rehab, launched it, and it had immediate success. It was an immediate hit. Travel was booming in these rural areas. In November of 2020, this is just like 1 year after our first ever investment, we cash flowed, like profited, $14,000. And then December, it was over $20,000. And I was like back on cloud nine. I was like, you know what? I'm the world's best investor. I'm a genius. We just kind of rode that high, and we said, you know what? Once travel fully comes back to Nashville, we're probably going to be sitting consistently over 20 grand a month. I was like, that is way more than we need to live, right? Our financial freedom number was like 8 to 10K a month, and we would have been very comfortable. So we said, you know what? Let's get one more property. We don't have any money. So we did a cash out refi on our primary residence, pulled out money, tax-free, and we still didn't have enough. So we partnered with another couple to buy another property in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And this property was great. We rehabbed it some, launched it in April of 21, and we were immediately, between our 4 properties, cash flowing $30,000 or more per month. And we both went into our office, talked to our boss, and quit. We resigned, like immediately. Just to put this into perspective for you guys, it's always an emotional moment to look back at 2016. At my first job when I moved to Dallas, Texas, my salary was $35,000 per year. And here we are in this camper van working from our phone 1 to 2 hours a week, and we made $50,000 in a single month. What is happening? Like, this is crazy. And honestly, when we first started, we learned so much through doing. We made a ton of mistakes, and I wish there were people like myself today that mentor and teach people. I wish I had a mentor at the beginning. Because if I did, I would have avoided that first guest that ransacked the place. I would have avoided some of my investments that didn't pan out the way I wanted to. And I'd be a lot further today than I am now. And I'd probably be making even more in passive income. One of my first ever mentees, Logan and Bree West, they found me on TikTok. I was in my camper van filming about how much money we were making and how we were doing it, all the mistakes we made in the past, and they hired me as a coach. And what's crazy is that what I was able to teach them, you know, tactically, and also what mistakes to avoid, they were able to go from 0 short-term rentals to 6 in the first year, and they were cash flowing tens of thousands of dollars per month, which is crazy. So they like blew past the pace my wife and I were at because they had somebody kind of showing them the ropes. Flash forward to today, my wife and I have 7 properties. We're about to launch our 8th. Last year, the 7 did over $1 million in gross rental income. And in 2024, we should be doing around 1.5 million in rental income, and our cash flow on that will be over $500,000. Just a few short years, guys, about 4 years, we went from zero passive income, zero cash flow, zero real estate investments to what we have today. So if we can do it, I promise you that you guys can do it too. If you're feeling stuck on like, how do I even get started? I just need some help or guidance. I'll make it available for a short period of time, but you guys can book a free consultation with me and my team. I'll drop the link in the description below, so definitely check that out. Highly recommend taking advantage of it while it lasts. And if you found this video helpful or any of my other content helpful and you want to see more of it, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. I'll see you guys soon.